Sorry. So you may be wondering what in the world I'm doing here. And actually, I am doing a test of today's product that we're going to take a look at in this video. And I'm powering this Fender 100 watt twin reverb amp with this BioLite 1500 BaseCharge. Let's take a closer look at it coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. And of course, thanks to the folks at BioLite for sending me this BaseCharge 1500 so I can show it to you. And this is a 1521 watt portable rechargeable power station. And the folks at BioLite reached out to me a few months ago and asked me if I'd be interested in taking a look at this. So I said, you know, it really sounds like a pretty good product for preparedness and several other things. I actually didn't think about the music angle until very recently, but I just thought that'd be a great way to start the video. Just something a little bit different. So they sent me one of these and sent me a solar panel that goes with it, and an optional solar panel. And I've been sitting on it for about a month or so, and just really hadn't had time to get to doing any detailed testing. So finally got around to starting to do that. And this thing is really, really impressive. I gotta say, they have really thought this thing out really well. And I'm rambling, so I'll shut up. What I think we should do is just take you down to the old tabletop here. I'll show you the details of this thing, how it works, some of the things I think are so special about it, and then we'll do a little real-world testing on a couple of different scenarios. You want to? Okay, here is the BioLite BaseCharge 1500. Very nice and compact, a whole lot smaller than a big old gas generator, and a little quieter as well. This thing, just to cut to the chase, is $1,699, so $1,700. So it's not cheap for sure. They also have a lower price 600 watt model, but this is the big daddy, and it's got basically the most capacity and the most power output. So let's just talk about this thing as we go. You can see it's got a nice LCD display up here. You can turn that on and show you the display. This thing shows you how many hours to empty, what the percentage of battery charge is, tell your total watt hours used. A lot of different information that'll show you there as we go. If you want to reset that total watt hours used, you can just push that button. I think you hold it and there you go, it's reset. So you can see it's got several different panels here on the front, and each panel has its own little button. So start off with, this is a DC, here's your standard PowerPoint or cigarette lighter is what I call them, output, plus 2 DC barrel, 12 volt DC barrel outputs. You press the green and it comes alive. This over here is USB. It has 2 USB A's and 2 US or B, whichever this one, and 2 USB C's. I think these are B's. You know, these square ones and the round ones. Okay, there you go. And again, you push the button and it goes on. Then it has a USB PD 100 watt input or output. And you just plug it in there. You don't have a button to push there. So you can either charge it through this or you can discharge through that. Then it also has the 3 110 volt 1200 watt outputs there. And what's really cool about this is it's a 1200 watt output, but it has a 2400 watt surge for like some things. If you're starting up with a motor like a skill saw or something like that, you got an initial surge, and that actually gives you 2400 watts, so it doubles it, lets you get that surge going so you can get the motor started. It also has on top right here wireless charging. So let's just get the specs out of the way. This thing is 14.4 inches long by 12.2 inches wide by 8.2 inches high. It weighs 26.5 pounds, and the battery in here is a 1521 watt hour, which is a 21.6 volt, 70.4 AH lithium ion. So to charge this thing, it comes with this AC adapter. And then this is the charging port here, and so you can't get them backwards. There's a red one and a black when you plug it in. Plug this thing into the outlet, and you've got hours to empty, 99.99, hours to full. This thing changes, so it's 8.3 hours to full, 7. So it depends on, I guess, it kind of fluctuates a little bit, but so about 3.5 hours to 3 hours, 2.9. So it's charging pretty quick. It's up to 87% already. And it's putting 113 input watts, if you can see right there, which is pretty cool. So it's 2.2 hours to charge to full now. What's really cool about this is you can actually charge it, and let's just do this. We'll plug the old amplifier back in, turn that on, turn the amplifier on, and you can charge it and use it at the same time. You can see that it shows input is 113. Output is right now is 36 watts going to the amplifier. If you have you can plug a USB-C into this PD and charge it, doubly charge it, and then get it even faster. And it'll charge with the adapter from empty in about to 80% in about 13 hours, about 8 hours with the AC and the PD. And you can charge it in 4 hours if you have 4 daisy chain 100-watt panels in really bright sunshine. So that's pretty cool. Has an 80% capacity after 500 full charge cycles. So even after 500 full charge cycles, you still have 80% capacity, and it has a 2-year warranty. As I said, there's an optional 100-watt solar panel that's available. You can daisy chain up to 4 of these. So let's talk about this thing real quick. I know it's kind of weird talking about the solar panel when I got lights staring at me. You can see back here because it's kind of, the sun's starting to go down, so we're not going to get much solar activity right now. But I want to show you the specs of this thing, details, and then I'll cut to some daylight solar footage. But this is a really cool solar panel. I think it's 100 watts. It actually folds up very nicely. First of all, it's $399.95, so $400 for this solar panel. But it's a high efficiency with durable ETFE lamination. It's water resistant, has a built-in storage pouch for the cables and everything you might need. Let's see, got your cables all in here. It's all very, very, very compartmentalized, very, very well done. So you can daisy chain up to 4 cables to get 400 watts of power. So the folded dimensions are 20.1 inches long by 14 and a quarter inches wide by about 1.5 inches thick. And then when you unfold this thing, it's 20.1 inches tall, but man, it unfolds out to 4, there's a piece of tape, 4 panels. Bam, it's bigger than I can get on camera here, 57.5 inches long and 1 inch thick when it's unfolded, which is a couple things I think are really cool about this. First of all, on back of both the outboard panels, these fold out like that and allow it to stand up and support itself at a different angle. And the reason that is important is because this thing also has, which I think is really cool, is the BioLite optimal sun design. And what's really cool, it's got a target here. So you can set this little bubble here, and basically there's got a little shadow in there, right? Well, when the shadow is in the center like that, it's got the optimal sun. And so it takes all the guesswork out of it. You've got it's ingenious in my mind. It's just ingenious. So as I said, I think this is a well thought out package. I think that BioLite has their act together as far as usability and as far as ergonomics. So this thing is very, very compact, but 100 watts is a pretty good deal. It's also waterproof. So again, you can daisy chain 4 of those with the BaseCharge. So now let's do some testing. You want to? So I thought I would talk about some real world applications for this thing and just some of the things that came to my mind. There's a whole list of things on the website. They've got a lot more information than I can give you as far as scientific stuff. I'm just a real world kind of guy. And one of the things I thought about with this was that, I use a lot of cordless tools. Everybody in construction now uses a lot of cordless tools. The cordless tool industry has really changed the face of construction in a lot of ways because you don't see as many cords and stuff strung out everywhere, and you don't have to have power. Sometimes we used to go to a job and there was no power there, and you'd have to go drag a generator and all that. These cordless tools really make a big difference, but they have batteries that have to be charged, and they eventually run out. So this could be a great way just to keep those batteries charged during the day. You take it home at night and plug it in, or just set you a solar panel up on the back of the truck. But let's just see how well this thing will do. So plug that one in, and turn the little green light on. And okay, we got a red light there. And can you see that red light there? That means it's charging. Let's plug the other one in. Dun, 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 dun. And it's charging. And it says we've got 138 output watts, 140. This thing's just sucking more than the than the amplifier does. It was only 50 watts. Two of these are 140, so that's a pretty good bit. But it's 8 or 9 hours left. 8.9 hours or something like that left of charge, just to charge these, which is pretty cool. But while we're doing that, let's do something else. So maybe you don't have all those cool cordless tools. You just got it. You're going old school, like I am with the skill saw. If I can get it in there, my skill saw plugs in. There we go. So, like I said earlier, a skill saw or saw, anything like this with a motor, it has an initial startup surge, so it takes a little more wattage. Let's see how well this thing does. You can see, I don't know if you noticed, when that thing was going, this thing dropped down to like 1.5 hours. So this takes a lot. This is a pretty good bit of juice here. This is 13 amps. So it's a pretty power intensive tool, but this thing did it. So you have an hour and a half, couple of hours of solid cutting with a circular saw. Okay, so I think that to my mind, those are some of the practical things that came to use, but they have on their website a list of times that it will power other devices. I mean, so maybe you don't work in construction or you don't have electric guitars, but you probably have a refrigerator. You probably have a home with, and sometimes power goes out. So you can get 117 charges on a smartphone out of this, 164 smoothies out of a blender, 37 hours an electric cooler, and here's the one that really got my attention, 20 hours of a refrigerator. It'll power a refrigerator for 20 hours. That could save your food from spoiling. And what's really cool about that is you don't have to. If you wanted to really extend that, you could plug your refrigerator in for a couple hours, unplug it for an hour. You could kind of manage that and probably extend it a lot further than that if your power was out longer than that. 20 hours is a long time for power to be out where I live, but maybe not where you live. 62 minutes of a microwave. Microwaves are pretty heavy duty. Another one that got my attention is if you have some sort of medical machine like a CPAP machine and do 31 hours on a CPAP machine. 31 hours if you sleep 8 hours a night, that's almost 4 days. 22 charges on a laptop, 57 minutes on a corded drill, 51 minutes on a skill saw like this. And as you saw, it showed on the dashboard about an hour and a half on that. So 51 minutes of cutting is pretty good. If you had to cut a 2x4 in like 30 seconds, that's going to give you, 100 2x4s you could cut, right? So not bad there. So obviously it has practical uses beyond just playing the guitar and charging, charging cordless tools. But pros and cons, everything's got pros and cons. So Chuck Norris can kill 2 stones with 1 bird. I made a list of what my opinions of pros and cons are, and I wrote it down. Actually, I printed it so I wouldn't forget it. So let's talk about the cons first. This thing's not waterproof, so you can't sit this out in the weather and let it get all wet like you might can kind of comparing these to a gasoline generator, right? So it's not waterproof, so you can't get it wet, right? That's a con. In sub-freezing temperatures, any kind of a battery device has reduced capacity, reduced performance. It's probably going to still have some performance, but it's going to reduce because in sub-freezing temperatures, that's just what happens. Same thing if it gets overheated, but you've got these handles also have these big vents in here, so you don't want to block those. Another potential con is if you're traveling a lot, you cannot transport this on an airplane, period. Not in storage, not in baggage, not in carry-on, nothing. There's over 100 watts. They won't let you put it on an airplane. It's got to be ground transported if you go somewhere. And it probably has less total power than some gas-powered generators. Although, I don't know, I've used a bunch of gas-powered generators, and they tend to bog down too. But typically, you're going to be able to run those and just keep putting gas in them. And they'll usually put out more total output. So if you need a lot of output, this is not going to be your primary way to get that. And they cost more than a comparable gasoline generator. I know you can get a gas generator for, say, $700, probably less than that. This is going to be about double that. So those are cons for sure. But we got some pros too. First of all, It's quiet. It makes zero noise. There may be a cooling fan that kicks on in here, but that's about it. You don't hear it. So if you're using it to power your rock band, then you don't have to worry about that generator playing in the background. If you're camping in a campsite with other people around, you're not disturbing them. Or if you're by yourself, you're not disturbing yourself or nature. I just think the quiet is a big, big benefit of this. No fumes. You can use this inside, in a house, in a tent, whatever. Completely safe, so that's a big pro too. Very compact for what it does. You see how big it is, so it's a lot smaller than a gas generator. Multiple power options. You've got a lot of different outputs here. Multiple charging options. You can charge with solar. Literally, if you had this and some solar panels, you could pretty much keep power indefinitely. There's no fuel needed whatsoever. So other than just keeping the thing charged, but you don't have to have a constant supply of fuel. Really, you could just have the solar panels. The solar panels are not cheap. I get that at what, $400 a piece, but they altogether as a package, you could have, you know, a couple of grand in this thing and really have a off-grid power supply that could literally, you know, power an off-grid cabin really in one little box, which is pretty cool. You know, I mean, you're not gonna power a stove with this thing, okay? But you could power your refrigerator and some lights and whatnot, and with some solar panels, and really do a good job. Oh, by the way, speaking of solar panels, one more thing that is a pro to me is even if you don't want to buy their solar panels, if you have other solar panels already, you can get an adapter cord. They sell and plug them right in and use them, so you don't have to buy theirs, which I think is another pro. So anyway, that's it. We're going to land this plane now. I got to say, obviously, it's not for everybody. It's not cheap. It's a, you know, reasonably high-end product, but if it's also reasonably well thought out, well designed, and very functional product. Like everything I've seen from the folks at BioLite, they just do a really good job, in my opinion, of thinking this stuff through before they release it to the market, because this thing is just so easy to use. It is very intuitive. It literally is plug and play. And I'll be honest with you, I was really impressed with the performance on the amplifier, because I didn't know if it was going to power the amp. I don't know how much power an amp pulls, but it's a 100-watt amp, and it's got tubes, and it's a pretty screaming amp. So I'm rambling again, so I'll wrap this sucker up. Really appreciate you watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks to the folks at BioLite for sending me this. If you're looking for a compact, really solid, performing way to have some power, either in an emergency or just for off-grid or for camping or whatever, this thing absolutely performs as advertised, and I think it is. I can't say anything really bad about it. You saw the pros and cons, but for what it does an excellent job. So I hope it's been helpful. Thanks again for watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for all your support. I really sincerely appreciate it. Once again, remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.